What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Faction Intro Series. It's Wyvern here again with Graham co-commentating, and this time we're covering the Chosen. This is a pretty interesting faction since it wasn't part of the original AEG 6 factions. This one was added as a 7th later on in 4th edition, so it doesn't have nearly as much card support for it, and it's not one that it sounds like, at least in the beginning, Kingswood is going to be producing large amounts of, but sounds like they might do some support for them going forward, and it's still a faction that exists in Ancients, so we're going to cover it nonetheless. Now, it's a pretty unique faction as well, just based on some of its mechanics, but we'll dive into that as well. As per how this series goes, we have a faction specialist on. You may know Chris Vac, NirvanaTool, from his Twitch streams. He started this well before I did and was a huge help for getting my channel started as well. And you may also know him as a dwarf player from Strategic, but he is currently the top-ranked Chosen on the leaderboard and will probably remain that way for a while. Chris has played the Chosen since they came out in 4E, has been involved in some of their design aspects, so I'll let Graham do, I guess, any further introduction he wants to him, but we'll welcome Graham on now.
Yeah, thanks, Wyvern. Yeah, we were excited, Chosen, a bit more of an obscure faction, so we thought we'd get a bit more of an obscure guest. You may know Chris from taking Kale King Rowan to the semifinals in an Ancients tournament, or being the winner of the Overlord Melee in 2022 Strategic. I think he's also won Gen Con or something, maybe some other tournaments. But Chris, as I think our only online player to have won a tournament with the Chosen, 2 tournaments with the Chosen even, it's great to have you. Thanks.
I gotta say, with my long resume, seeing you guys try it, I would have never thought that Chosen Faction Specialist would be on that resume, but I am happy to share any insight on the Purple People Eaters for sure.
Great. Well, I thought we'd actually start with the hardest question for the Chosen, which is why play them?
There's a few different ways you can kind of look at it when assessing the Chosen. And first, we're gonna go with, just thematically, like why you would play the Chosen. Well, I mean, if you're a big fan of Viking metal, like you really love that genre of music, and you want the drums beating, and you want to be riding these ships in and just pillaging everything. Or if you like Deverinians, but you don't want to worship a storm and you rather worship sacrificial demons, then you kind of go into that, because the Chosen kind of really do play to that in terms of theme, I would say. They're Viking slavers that they worship and summon demons. So again, that is the most metal thing that you can say about them. But from a player experience, I would say it is you're looking for a challenge. When you're playing the Chosen in Ancients, you already have the cards stacked against you because your card pool stack of Chosen characters is much smaller than the other factions. The Chosen were only part of 4th edition, so they were designed with many of these past cards in mind. They didn't get any other help, and there's just a lot less options. Now, again, that doesn't mean they can't compete, but if you as a player are looking like, okay, cool, I've played every faction, I don't want to play a top tier deck, and I want to go for an achievement, then the Chosen is the place to be.
Yeah, I think with the limited card pool they have, with many factions, if you're picking them from a gameplay point, you're looking for a particular theme, recursion for elves, defense for Deverenian. For the Chosen, I think you really gotta like a specific card and want to play a specific Chosen card in order to really justify the choice. The big advantage the Chosen have in Ancients, which we'll talk more about, is they are the faction that has a Resh, who's a beast, and he's a Chosen, man. The other faction. So that's their sort of one competitive advantage. But we'll talk a little bit more about the Chosen cards that you might pick. But I want to start with Warlords. So Chris, for you, we've already said the Chosen are going to be a challenge, but if you're looking to be competitive with the Chosen, what Warlords would you recommend?
I guess we'll use the one that I use to win We'll start with the ones that I've won tournaments with, I guess, and starting with Senga Kish, who we have right here, center screen over there. Really, the way I look at this warlord, and when trying to pick one of the chosen ones, it's which ones kind of apply to the ancients metagame better. And looking at Senga Kish, even though he has a thrall theme to it, where he can kill a thrall to power his ability, it's not what defines him. So this makes him a lot more adaptable to the Ancient Corporal. He's just a spell blitz wizard. And now, when I decided to dive into this, I looked at that and I go, okay, cool. I've been playing wizards that now kind of sit in rank 3, and this guy has an ability that could wound himself to kind of make his spells better. But really, if you're going to do that, you want to build around sitting in rank 3 so you're not within like a range strike. You're not going to get sniped, basically. If you're going to get sniped, you're going to make them work for it. So that was kind of what I liked about him. So I focused on spells like Pull the Strings, which can target anywhere in any rank, or from Dust to Dust, which if one of my other characters can't play, he can still play it from rank 3, or even spending for Wheel of Death. While there are no chosen necromancers, which would really fit with their theme, he's still happy to spend for that and just kind of hold the ranks. So he is not easy to play, but he does have some intuitive capabilities to him, I would say. Just getting big spells and throwing them at the opponent's face, sometimes that just works. Sometimes you evoke Crisis and don't roll below a 15. It's just that's how it goes. and he will enable that.
Yeah, that can happen. I can vouch for that one.
Do you want to go to the next one? Yeah, so a tier 2, tier 2, the reason she's great is the same. She's not as good as Alisara, the mercenary warlord, but just the idea to add some consistency to whatever game plan you want. So with the tier 2, it's being able to on demand with your starting army, which you'll have plenty of thralls too, and some juicy ones that are okay to die. You're able to pull out anything that you need to kind of get whatever engine you decide going, whether that's a Resh, like an Resh drop deck, which is what I ran in the 4E Spooky Battlefields tournaments. It was okay, let's use a tier 2 to search out for the missing piece of my back rank that would allow me to drop the big old Resh as fast as possible. So you draw your hand, it's like, well, I'm missing the level 4. Okay, that's the demon I'm going for. Or if you don't have a 6, then Shankasen, who we'll talk about a little later. All right, pull her right out, and then that'll be able to fit it right in. Or, you might, if your ranks are strong enough, you could also theoretically go find a Resh as well. You only have one of him in there, but hopefully you're packing a lot of card draw anyway. And a tier 2 being able, again, just to search it out, it's consistency, and that's the name of the game.
Awesome. So besides our sort of top tier tournament winning chosen, if you've got some players who are looking for maybe things other than wizards, looking to play, competitive chosen deck, are there any other warlords you'd recommend?
Yeah, I would say there are 2. I mean, again, you can play, I'd say all of them except for maybe Naram Sin are playable in a sense. You can find something. Naram Sin I've just never been a fan of, even in 4E when he first came out. But the next one I would say that I have, admiration for is the Bloody Mistress. Basically we took the Bloody Countess that was a Deveronian warlord and then reflavored it to be a chosen warlord. This was something that happened at the end of 4E, but the cool aspect to this, it really fits in with the feast or famine mechanics that are in the chosen. She can kill her entire starting army right beforehand, and then just be able to be a rush to the front, generate as many strikes as possible front rank fighter. And she can do things to win initiative, to draw cards and get more consistency there. But she could play close ranks to her react, which is killing thralls. So then that way she's getting the movement all the way up. Or, if you don't want to kill your entire army and you only want to kill a few, you can do something, like pack sudden reversal. So if someone tries to swing at the one character holding the ranks, then she gets a free movement up. Or, of course, just draw a Griffin. There's a lot of things you can do, but when you can minimize the amount of movement you need in a front rank fighter deck, that's what makes Artec good. So she has that, and she's got 4 HP for a front rank fighter and 7 skills, so it's not bad.
Yeah. If Artec is good, the Bloody Mistress is, not a Nothrog and not quite as reliable as Artec, but she does have advantages over Artec. Better draw, more hit points, more AC. Solid option. And you mentioned 2 Warlords?
Yeah, the other one is the newest of the bunch. Good old Princess Alizé. I think she's just a solidly designed and really fun support warlord. We don't really have to. I mean, we have a decent amount of bards, but there's a lot of good things that bards can do. So she, but like just like her ability that they gave, like it's just, if you had a wish list of what did you want to see from a chosen warlord, other than a necromancer, of course, which you can do that and build a warlord, but it was just something to make these reacts. Remove the handcuff that was the reacts are on these thralls, where it's like they have to die as part of one of your own actions. So she completely warps a lot of the cards that were designed to basically never see an ability like this. But she does it in a way that it's not overpowering. It's very balanced within the actual card pool of the Chosen. And again, it's just I like seeing mid-range decks. I want to see that kind of come back to Ancients. It's not really there, but again, she can play Pull the Strings. She can play Counterspell, which is very big in the meta now. So there's a lot of tools at her disposal.
And there's one other warlord I just want to shout out quickly. Probably not a good intro warlord, but Ruach Shan, who has the ability to sort of sacrifice characters to gain levels and classes. And so, outside of Ablong, he's the only warlord who can really combine every class with relative ease. And so, like, if you're looking to do something wonky, Ruach Shan is a fun guy to consider. And I mean, like, yeah, his biggest weakness is that he's chosen, but if you compare him to someone like Autoramus Tay, Ruach Shan is Autoramus Tay on steroids. And he's just a fun guy, not someone to start with, but someone fun to play around with.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have an idea in mind to really get the most out of his ability. But even if you didn't, Cleric Wizard with Scribe +6 and 10 skill, like the stats are pretty there. So he's not, he's got some kind of engine in there but yeah, you're right. This is you have to have a very creative idea, and we've seen a few people do that. We've seen people uber up with items of every single class with this guy. Then we've seen people cast Hand of Power with him. So there are options out there.
Yeah, he's one of the best mass hallucination moves.
I wish Illusionist had better support, though. That's the only thing.
We've never seen him in Turncoat, to be honest. Because for me, the weakest part of him is that he's chosen. But anyway, and I want to talk about something that I think is another strength of the Chosen, which is their starting armies. So when it comes to, putting out the 6 characters you're going to start with, we've talked about the Warlords. Let's talk about the other guys. Chris, do you have any favorites?
Oh yeah, and that was the thing too. With such a small card pool, you'd think that they would be struggling here, but they actually got some. Their starting army is no joke. The one that we'll start off with, we'll go obviously one card at a time, and the best part about this is I think there's only one repeat character that I use in my standard Chosen starting army. So I start with 2 Mitraz to go with it. Basically, it's Brine Fiend with 2 more AC, but you gotta spend a character in order to get the strike, which is usually fine. You really only want it for the defensive properties, but then having the ability to put extra pressure if like somebody moves a Jackals to the front rank, like you still have a threat on the board that kind of takes away that strategic choice from your opponent. So Mitraz, absolute money, really love it. And worst case scenario, can spend to cast Exhaustion, Dragon's Horde, any other level 1 classless action. Stolen Destiny, he can do all that. So That's one, and then so you start with 2 of him, and then you'll back that up with the Devoted, which is something I feel like in 4E we all were like, oh my god, this card is great, and then everybody kind of forgot it existed when Ancients kind of became the go-to one. It's like the Devoted thin your deck, and you know, I in the age where we have people with 100-card decks randomly and continuously playing in tournaments, theoretically that's while that may be a meme, the general concept is you want to have your deck as thin as possible. So having the Devoted, you know, be able to just, you know, bring out another character, you know, as they die, thin your deck so you're drawing these other cards that you have as your engine for the deck. It can't be understated. And he just deters people from wanting to strike him unless you have some other way to stop it.
One thing, one thing to consider with Devoted, generally, I don't generally play Chosen, but when I do, personally, I prefer to start 3 Mitraz over them just because they take up character slots in your deck, which you could be fitting with other higher value payoff characters. And then B, you run the risk of drawing them, in which case they can't search for them, and it essentially takes up a slot in your hand with something you could have searched for, giving you, in theory, -1 hand size. So, I mean, it's a risk to run. It's definitely high value if you can thin out your deck, but it kind of seems like high risk, high reward.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit, because I think the Devoted is possibly, you know, the best single defensive character you can start in a front rank, because you know, like, even the 2 hit point guys like Matraz, they'll die to a Stygian Wraith, they'll die to, you know, any Uber Warlord coming up with like a Monkey's Paws or something like that. You know, there are ways around 2 hit points. There is nothing that gets around the Devoted. You know, maybe you draw one and then it only takes 2 swings to get the Devoted out of your front rank, but you know, the fact that in many cases your opponent will have to swing at the Devoted 3 times to get rid of them.
Yeah.
There is one thing that is the bane of the Devoted, and that would be Ryan Mornington.
Yes.
It came out in 4E as well, and for good reason. But otherwise, just any kind of anti-retrieval as well, because if you can stop that, it's retrieval from your deck.
One other thing Devoted are good for as well is you can kill them multiple times with your own Chosen, since you can kill them, get another one, kill them, get another. So it's not just defense against your opponents, but if you need to kill a Thrall, you can essentially keep a character in the same spot that they're in.
Yep. And what also it does is it puts characters in your discard pile. So if you're going to play a character like Kale Rowan, the level 1, the Devoted fuel that. And that's something that happened in my Senga Kish deck. I was able to get extra value at a Kale Rowan as a drop-in level 1, with just 2 of those in there, and that's all I really needed. And that would make my ranks so secure, and it was great.
Yeah, so the Chosen do have a rock-hard defensive start in their level 1s. One other level 1 I want to mention, who's sort of Bloody Mistress specific, is Enhei. I don't think you play this in people other than Enhei, especially not as a starter, other than the Bloody Mistress. But if you're looking to kill someone, why not kill someone who turns you into an 11/7 with 19 AC?
Absolutely. That's your choice level 1 for Bloody Mistress, no doubt. Maybe you go with 1 Devoted if you want just a little bit of security in case you don't draw movement. But that would really be the exception.
So how about level 2s?
Well, I think we have to start with the elephant in the room, don't we? Right? Good old table that we affectionately call it. But Yeg Idril's Altar. So most people forget this is a Chosen card and think all they remember it is as an Althra card. But, you know, don't worry, folks. If you decide to go to Chosen Land, you get the Altar. So it's just as good. So it's a auto include 1 of in every deck. It is reserved. It is restricted, so you can only run the 1 of it. Currently, as per the recording of this, who knows what's going to happen down the future, or if we completely ban it because it's that good. But getting +4 attack to your melee strikes, spending for spells such as From Dust to Dust, and then if you don't draw any of that, you can combo with Mitraz and get a +4 at worst case scenario. But then there's also the no limit order kill one of your characters to put charges on it and be able to use that react multiple times. The order to kill a character will just fuel all of your thrall reacts that you have, no matter what they may be. So you get even more value out of it.
And we talked about, a lot of these chosen warlords love pull the strings. A lot of chosen love stolen destiny. And that becomes, instead of just taking control of your opponent's characters, you take control and you kill them for free. It's huge in chosen.
Indeed. And then if it's not the altar, the level 2 that I like to lean on is Wailing Scrambler. It's a very versatile level 2 in the sense where it can generate a strike and not be forced to spend. So again, you have a lot of flexibility with Mitraz, so you can do that. Or depending on what the opposing starting army is, if they're starting Brine Fiends or Mitraz in a chosen unchosen slugfest, you can do 2 wounds. And I've done that 2 wound shot to warlords, and it's great. Everyone's like, you don't expect the Wailing Scrambler +2 to just hit you and then put you 1 lucky die roll away from dying. But I've used the Scrambler also to just maneuver forward and shoot at opposing second ranks if I have the time and I don't have a worry of it dying when it goes to the front rank. He's randomly a summoner too. So
yeah, I mean, Summoner's great for From Dust to Dust because you don't have to kill. If you're a Summoner with From Dust to Dust, you just have to wound. But yeah, I mean, he chops through defensive starts. He can move up and attack the second against defensive starts. He can both cast a spell and make a ranged strike against aggressive starts. Very versatile, very strong card. Any faction would be happy to have him.
Indeed. There's 2 others I would say that I'd want to consider. First one is Winty, which for anyone who likes elves, Winty is essentially Irolas, but with the chosen theme on it. So you can get a strike out of there, but then, if it dies as part of an action's payment, you get a +4. So if it's in Princess Eliza, it's just Irolas. If you are running this in Bloody Mistress, theoretically you can get a strike before initiative is rolled. And, depending on certain situations, that might be valuable. But that's really about it for Winty. And then the last, again, it's another dual faction one. We're going to go with Amends, which, again, most people assume is dwarf because the picture is a dwarf guy. But this is what the Bloody Mistress will also, if not dropping the 3 from the hand just because it's an extra attack without spending, they might start the 1 just to have the consistency there. And 15 AC means he's pretty sturdy. He's going to stick around for a bit. And, unless make the opponent roll for it, which I really like.
Yeah. And one of the things you'll notice here is we've got that rock solid defensive first rank, but all of these second rank options are actually quite strong on the offense, which makes the chosen starting army, versatile and able to handle a number of different situations. There's one other level 2 character I wanted to draw attention to in case you really just need to go all out on the defense, which is the Plentiful. They got 2 HP. So,
yep. Lady Maligrants.
It's nice to have hit points. They're actually a fighter, so better than Lady Maligrants.
There is another level 2 chosen that it has 2 HP. I forgot what it is. I think it's a Daemon.
Yeah, you can't start it.
Oh, you can't start it? Okay, gotcha. I couldn't remember that guy.
That might be the level 1.
Yeah, I just know that there's multiple options. That's all I know. But and I'd say those are, and again, with how many sets there were in 4E, it wasn't too many. The fact that all of these were wins and playable, you'd love to see it.
So we've talked about the starting army, we've talked about the warlords. What about the rest of your characters? What are the key chosen characters you have to be thinking about when you're building a deck?
Number 1 goes in every single chosen deck without question is Redutam. It is a solid level 3 character, which will be right over here. Thank you. Basically, with all of your abilities to kill your own characters, this lets you do that and then becomes a 2 HP planner demon with +5 attack and 6 planner. So it's very durable, but it gives you that offensive ability as well. So just generally all around good. In Princess Eliza, it basically says, you don't want to kill this thing because then you just make it angry. So there's never a bad situation for Redutan.
Yeah, you got it. But not if it doesn't go.
Yep. So the fact that you put Redutan really close to a Resh is really good, because what I like to do when I drop a Resh is basically draw my entire deck. And when you have Redutams and you're just recycling them, but basically you play Redutam and he turns into 2 card draws. That's exactly, because he doesn't lose the Thrall trait when he reacts. He just gains the Demon trait and Planner trait, of course. But so he turns into 2 cards there, and I really like that. Other than that, too, another engine that we see is Mistress Sanai. Now, this probably doesn't go into every deck. It's an absolute auto-include in the Atira-2 deck, because Atira-2 is going to be killing a whole bunch of Thralls right away, and just being able to ready these big-ass demons as they're coming into play and getting stunned to the front or running up there, it's just absolutely worth it. Even when I've had a Resh out, I've used Mistress Sanai to ready another good level 3 Thrall, the Seed. Just ready them, and then you find out that the Seed is once per turn. But things like that happen, but you're able to ready it and then attack with it after you've stunned it, or just Mistress Sanai can also just ready your Warlord twice per turn, and you will have a lot of your Thralls dying. Mistress Sanai and Princess Alizé is just complete profit, so it's rightfully unique.
We've talked about Arash as being one of the big reasons why you'd want to run the Chosen in an Ancients. Mistress Sanai is the other, I think. Just like the best ready tech character in the game, arguably. This said,
and giving out the Thrall trait, so that if you don't have anything, you're now fueling all your abilities. Let's say you have something that only kills Thralls, but you're playing something like Pull the Strings. And let's say they kill your altar, so you don't have that anymore. Well, give them the Thrall trait and now kill them.
I will say that Mistress Sanai and Redutam do not synergize, because Redutam is not actually killed, so does not give Mistress Sanai a charge until you actually kill him.
Yep.
Just a little nuance there.
Sanai wants the soul. That's basically it. It's like sorry, Redutam still has his soul. But then other than that, the another one I want to talk about is Shan Kasen, a level 6 non-unique chosen character. This lets you drop a Resh as fast as possible. You don't have to play a level 7 slot in your deck. You can if you want, and there's a Salazar Overlord that you can play that's really good, but I've just decided not to play that. I just give me 3 Shan Kasen, and if I draw a level 4 and a Shan with a tier 2, I'm searching for a 5, and now I've got a big old power eye going as I'm dropping that. So I can drop as many Shan Kasens as I draw too, because it's not unique. So worst case scenario, if my ranks are collapsing as I'm trying to build back to drop big old Aresh, you can just throw that Shan Kasen up there. It's a 3 HP planner character that's going to last for a while. And then if it happens to get ready, it's got 3 strikes. So absolutely ridiculous card.
Even if you don't have any level 4s, you don't have any level 5s, you're not playing a tier 2, you can't play Shan Kasen, you can still just cycle herself. So there's very little downside to playing Shan Kasen in any deck that might have the chance to play her.
Indeed. And then, so I'm taking a look at my list, see what else I got. I think we can cover one more, and then I'll kick it back to you guys for other ones. Mistress Flavia. And this is one that even those around 4E probably forgot about, because it was a promo that was released, I think, towards the end. But Mistress Flavia is a level 3, enters as level 3, but it's a dual class Rogue Wizard. So I'm pretty sure that was a misprint, but the Chosen like that. And here we go, Chosen Necromancer. So Mistress Flavia in your deck, just as a character itself is good because her react is to steal any lower level opposing character from the discard pile and put it into play ready in your army under your control with the thrall trait. So you play her, you're essentially getting 2 characters. And you know, as we saw when I ran Kale King Rowan at Mercenary, I don't want to get into mercenary things, but that ability on a level 5 Warlord that came out in Stolen Destiny, one of the most broken sets ever, is now available on a level 3 character for the Chosen. So that's really good. And they even knew that trying to recur this constantly would be bad because before she dies, she is removed from game. But again, being a necromancer, she can play Wheel of Death without spending.
What more could you ask for? Yeah, I don't think there are too many situations where her being a rogue is particularly impactful. You know, maybe in an Alizé deck where you can spend someone else to play Clearing the Mark. But, so, you know, edge case utility here. But the Wizard Necromancer, get 2 characters for the price of 1. Hard to argue against. Wyvern, did you have any Chosen you wanted to add to this list?
Yeah, one more Thrall I want to bring up is, I believe, Ridu Faram, the level 4. Just because he's kind of going to be your big beater that you're going to go get with Princess Alizé. You know, a lot of the Thralls we've looked at, they're starting level 1s and 2s, and you might be wondering, like, why would I play that? Ridu Tam, yeah, he's pretty good, but he himself isn't a reason to play Alizé getting a Thrall to ready. Faram, once he gets charges, just like Sanai, and he gets them before a Thrall is killed, he levels up, he gets the Daemon trait as well, additional hit point, and does an additional wound with melee strikes. So just kind of, you know, we've looked at the higher end of Daemons. I just wanted to look at the higher end of Thralls as well with Faram.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a beater. Makes the Princess Alizé tech go forward. One other Thrall worth considering, you know, roughly analogous, I guess, to something like the Lost Bride, Radu Kar. It's, you know, card draw and gets to the front pretty quickly. So just a solid level 3 character that you never mind killing. And also, you know, theoretically you can get him to the front. The turn he comes in, get 2 swings off with him. Solid offensive and utility option.
For sure.
Lost Bride and Enigmist made a baby, and it was Radu Kar.
All right, so there we go. We got a wide selection of Chosen Warlords, starting armies, some other characters to think about. Chris, you got any closing thoughts on the Chosen, or those who might want to make some Chosen decks?
I mean, I think, again, like the only closing thought I would say is to kind of have an open mind when approaching this. I think a lot of people just automatically dismiss this faction for obvious reasons that we've already covered. But I would just say don't do that. Like, try and take a stab at it. And another thing, you know, I know I'm saying, like, I encourage you to look at it, but I also, that comes with the disclaimer that the Chosen are not for the faint of heart. You are going to have to really think out all your moves. When your theme is about killing your own characters, if you do that at the wrong time, your entire army might collapse in on itself and you'll lose a game through that. So you will have to really think that out and be very methodical in what you do. But it's very rewarding. I mean, the amount of people who were watching me keep my miracle run with Senga Kish like going, like everyone was vested in that, and just like seeing it's the underdog faction. So like if that's what you thrive for, and kind of like what I said, like I like running side quests. What can I say? Let's go see if we can make the Chosen do stuff. And that's when you do accomplish that, it just feels so much more rewarding. So don't be shy, play around, but be cautious.
Chosen are definitely a really tricky faction to make work, but like you said, when you hit that payoff, it feels very rewarding. Definitely a fun one to give a try sometime. Like Chris said, don't dismiss them just because they're the smallest faction. Outside of Dragons, Chosen might be the thing I've played the most, and I thoroughly enjoy playing them. And when I want to mix things up, I go back to them. So definitely worth trying. Maybe not the most beginner-friendly, but once you've played a few games of Warlord and kind of have a feel for it, it's worth trying them out. But thanks to Chris for coming on and giving us an overview of the Chosen, how they run, what makes them work, and thanks again to Graham for moderating the discussion. I appreciate you checking out the video, and be sure to stay tuned for more entries in this faction overview series.